February 19, 1993, was the day that shocked the community living in Pasco County. A 12-year-old girl got off the school bus and started her usual way home, which was a 200-yard walk, but she never made it to her destination. 6 days later, her lifeless body was found. She had been sexually assaulted and killed mercilessly. Since then, it has taken over 30 years for her case to finally receive some closure. Welcome back to Talking Crime, a channel that is dedicated to giving you insight on crime cases that grappled the world. In this case, we're going to shed light on a 30-year-old cold case that was solved in September 2023. This is Jennifer Odom, a carefree and fun-loving girl who was loved by all. Her mother, Renee Converse, still remembers how she loved her dog, Gypsy, and how she would giggle with her gang of friends. On the day of her disappearance, Jennifer boarded her school bus just as she normally would. Her mother was there when she got on the bus, and as she waved goodbye to her mother, little did the two know that this would be the last time the two would share a memory together. At about 4 p.m. that day, Jennifer's 9-year-old sister, Jessica, arrived to find their house locked and empty. This was unusual because Jennifer would make it home from school by 3 p.m. However, on this day, there was no sign of her. Jessica then called her mother to tell her that her sister wasn't home. On the other end, Renee started panicking and called up her daughter's best friend, Michelle. She told her that she had seen Jennifer get off the bus.
And it was a normal day. 4 o'clock came and Jessica called me and said, Mom, Jennifer's not here. I knew right then that something was wrong.
At the time, a massive manhunt was launched by every law enforcement agency in the Bay Area. They were looking for a blue truck that had been seen in the area by some of her classmates just before she disappeared. But with no leads, the police were forced to rely on evidence that didn't help them until 6 days after Jennifer's disappearance, her body was found. She was found lying along a horse-riding trail off Powell Road in Hernando County, and she had signs of physical trauma. One would call this a brutal and inhuman attack. DNA samples were taken from the body and sent for testing. However, there were no viable leads as there were no matches in the criminal database. The most probable suspect was the driver of the blue truck, and efforts were made to find the owner of the car.
This is every parent's nightmare. This is a thing that keeps parents up at night, worried about their children.
She was getting off the school bus and was horribly attacked and sexually assaulted. Brutally is an understatement.
With nothing to lead on, the case turned cold until 2 years later. On January 5, 1995, a couple hunting for scrap metal in a rural area of Hernando County discovered Jennifer's missing book bag and clarinet case, which had fingerprints on them. The police then tried to trace the fingerprints, but no one matched the data. Meanwhile, Jennifer's family wanted to find who the culprit was.
We talked about it. We played it out every day. If something wasn't right, drop your stuff and run. Zigzag the orange grove.
The fact that we knew not to get in the car with anybody, and we even practiced it, that just doesn't make sense to me. So that part of me makes me think that it was somebody that we knew.
20 years passed, and there were no leads to the case. However, the police were sure that it was the man who drove the blue truck, which was last seen on the day of Jennifer's disappearance until Detective George Lundgren found a match. "13 months before Jennifer was killed, there was a similar case, but the only difference was that she got lucky. The man who committed the crime at the time was identified as Jeffrey Norman Crum, and the police knew that he was the one who was involved in the Jennifer Odom case. Crum was already serving 2 sentences for past crimes, so getting his DNA was not that difficult. The police then compared the result of the DNA that they found in 1995 with the suspect, and it was a match.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, this is the news that this community and certainly Jennifer Odom's family have been waiting for decades. For now, detectives aren't really getting into all of the details at this point about what led them to this particular man as their suspect, as their main suspect in this case, but they are confident 61-year-old Jeffrey Crum is the person who abducted and killed 12-year-old Jennifer Odom back in 1993.
Jeffrey Norman Crum was charged with the kidnapping, murder, and sexual assault of Jennifer Odom. Her mother, Renee, finally found closure after all these years.